The Science of Getting Rich.
Hello. We have just arrived at what is the most important chapter of this book. For this, you will have to put all of your attention on what we are about to learn. Without this willingness, without this dedication, you will not be able to understand the most important precepts contained in this book. All of this is necessary so you can understand that you will have to make an effort right now to accept what the author is proposing, because what you are about to learn will make all the difference in applying the science of getting rich to your life. However, as has been said before, all of this will depend on you accepting what the author is about to explain. And if you decide to accept it, wealth will finally come into your life. But I must warn you that what the author will explain may go against many things you believe. But it is important that you decide in this moment that you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul, because the entire science of getting rich depends on you placing these precepts in your mind and heart. Okay. The first principle of the science of getting rich is thought. But not that natural and perhaps simplistic way of thinking. Not thought as just everything that passes through our mind. That's not the type of thought the author is referring to. It is a directed and qualified type of thought. But before understanding what this type of thought is, focus on this. Your thought is your connection to the whole. It is your connection with God. It is your connection with the universe. But above all, from today on, you will understand that thought must be done in a creative way, the way that gives form to everything that exists. It is through thoughts that everything in the world is created. This is also an ancient precept contained in the book The Kybalion, which states that the universe is mental, that everything begins in the mind, both in the universal mind of the Creator and also in our own lives. Everything we want begins in our own mind. It is your thoughts that create your reality, but very few people spend their time thinking creatively. The author says that there is no more arduous task in the world for a person than to hold a thought. In other words, thinking is laborious. Thinking is hard work. Our mind cannot stay empty. So when we are not thinking constructively, creatively, consciously, we are on autopilot. But if today you truly want to bring wealth into your life, you must understand that the origin of all wealth begins inside of you. It begins within your thoughts. It is your thoughts that will create wealth in your life. It is based on this universal law that the movie and book The Secret were based. However, in the movie, they portray the way we must use our thoughts in a fantastical way. They just said that you only need to think, and things will happen in your life. And that is not true. Fortunately, you are here to understand how this process really works. If you watch the movie The Secret, they showed that when a person thought of something, a wave of thought expanded throughout the universe, and that is true. But most things in the movie were shown in an exaggerated way. The story was based on this chapter because when you think, you project that thought into the universe. But it is not just any thought that produces a result in the universe. Otherwise, if you thought about a car accident, you would have one. That's not how things work. It is creative and conscious thought that causes this manifestation in the universe. So, let's get to the first basic precept of the book, The Science of Getting Rich, for which you must accept the following statement as true. There is a formless, thinking substance. Human beings have the ability to think and create forms in their thought, and by impressing this thought upon this substance, that thought has the ability to create things in one's own life. Your thoughts are connected to the whole. There is a mistaken idea that the formless substance, this substance from which all things are made, is out there in the universe, distant from us. It is not distant. It is inside of you. It is beside you. It is below, and it is above. You are a creative center. It is your energy that creates your own reality. It is the way you think, the way you see things, that makes things happen in your life. This may be very complicated at this moment. It may be very difficult to accept and understand. However, there is only one way for you to do this. Through repetition. You should do nothing else until you accept and understand this. There is a formless substance, a substance that surrounds us, one that we cannot see, but that is part of the whole, and everything that exists is created by it. There is a single substance that creates everything, and we have the power to think. We also have the gift of creation through our thoughts. When you want something in your life to work out, you must think constructively. And how do you do that? by thinking, by seeking solutions, by looking for alternatives. In the matter of building wealth, you must be able to do what the author says: think the truth. And to think the truth, for the author, is to apply the principles of the science of getting rich in your life. To truly think is to understand that you have to learn to think in a certain way. And what does it mean to think in a certain way? It means to think with the full awareness that when you think, you create your reality. And what will you learn to do starting today? Use your imagination. Your imagination is the gift God gave you to create. When you close your eyes and imagine something, it is not a simple act of imagining, but the beginning of the creation of something real. It is a fact in your mind that is being impressed upon the formless substance, that is being impressed upon the universe. So this substance captures your thought and begins to give form to things, begins to make things appear in your life. How do things come into your life? When you think of wealth, you will always think in the following way: wealth will come to me through some kind of transaction. You will always have to serve other people. So think, what will my business be? What kind of employee do I want to be? What position would allow me to be rich? That is the thought you must have. And the author says that this is how one thinks in a certain way. And to think in a certain way is to think the truth, even when presented with the facts of the lie. And to think the lie is to believe that the world is in crisis, that the world is getting worse, that there are no opportunities. All these thoughts divert you from creative thought. They divert you from thinking in a certain way. So, from today on, you will think, I create my own opportunities. There is no crisis for those who create. There is no crisis for me. I do not believe in the crisis. The crisis does not exist for me because I create my opportunities. I know that my creative thought is creating my reality. So, there are some fundamental instructions given in this chapter. There is a sentence that the author explains to us and presents as a fact, and that we must impress upon our thinking, which is the following: there is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. In other words, there is a thinking substance. There is something that surrounds us, that enters us, that is among us, that fills all the spaces of the universe. And this substance is thinking. This substance captures our thought. It is a living substance from which all things are made. Everything originates from this substance, and in its original state, this substance is without any form. It permeates, it penetrates, it fills the interspaces of the universe. It is everywhere at the same time. A thought impressed upon this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. When you think creatively, when you seek a solution, you are impressing this thought upon the formless substance, and it is capturing this thought and creating what you hold in your mind. That is how it gives form to your thought. A person can give form to things in their thought, and by impressing this thought upon this formless substance, can cause the creation of what is thought. This statement is marvelous. You must listen to, repeat, and write down these precepts. This is the moment where you need to fight hard against your paradigms, especially religious ones. Because this is God. The formless substance is God Himself. He is one, omnipresent, and omnipotent, and is everywhere. He can do anything, and you can create too. You can impress your thoughts upon this substance. Your thoughts create your life, and everything you ask for can be created. It is through your thoughts that you create your reality, that you create wealth. A person also creates poverty in their life if their thoughts are inclined towards scarcity, towards negative things. When they focus on poverty, when they are afraid, they create that reality in their life. But when a person begins to think of wealth, when they imagine themselves driving a luxurious car, imagine themselves living in a luxurious house, and when they begin to think creatively, seeking alternatives to create conditions in their life to earn more money, they inevitably place themselves in this position of prosperity. The author says the following at the end of this chapter. He says that you should set aside all other universal concepts and insist on this one until it is fixed in your mind and becomes your habitual thought. Read these statements repeatedly. Fix each word in your mind and meditate on it until you firmly believe what it says. If uncertainty arises, cast it aside. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to places where contrary concepts are taught or worshipped. Do not read magazines or books that teach a different idea. Mixing your ideas with other beliefs and faiths will cause all your effort to be in vain. Fix only this in your mind, and for some time, only study the science of getting rich. Accept as a truth that everything begins in thought. Focus on wealth, solely and exclusively on wealth. How to create wealth. How to create more opportunities. Imagine yourself rich. See yourself already amidst wealth. Think about money in a positive way. Look for ways to earn more money. Think about this until you accept it with all the strength of your heart. Say that you love money, that you want to be rich, that you are creating all the wealth you want in your life with your thoughts. Believe that there is a formless substance from which all things are made. Fix this in your mind and understand. You have just discovered the secret of wealth. And the secret of wealth is to think about wealth, to create wealth in your life, to be passionate about wealth, and to follow all the principles you will learn here in this book. So, until next time, we'll see you in the next chapter.